There we go. Are we on?
Yeah.
I think we're on. Good evening, everyone, again. Just wait and see, as usual, to see what Facebook get its stuff together and see who's going to join us. It's a bit slow sometimes, isn't it?
Can be.
I suppose in this day and age of all this technology, we take it for granted, don't we? That we can just go online and speak to lots of people.
Right, you've got 4 people watching already. Lisa
How is
says
everyone?
hi, guys.
Hello.
Jane says hi. Debbie says hi. You found us quite quickly this evening. Breeze's here.
Hope everyone is okay. Hope we find this one interesting tonight. This is number 9, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what, 9 weeks. Soon gone, isn't it? Right. Okay then, folks. So, good evening. Tonight we'd like to talk about, it's kind of seen as an old friend. It's something that we'll all be familiar with, I'm sure. To give it its proper name, it's petrolatum. So we probably know this one best by its trade name, which is Vaseline, but that's just one trade name. It's used in lots and lots of other things. Its other names are petroleum jelly, mineral oil, which to me is something completely different. That's what you put in your car. Paraffin oil, again, that's something that I'd burn. But these are all names for it. And soft white paraffin, I have heard that one before. Oh yeah, it's actually called petrolatum. This is the general structure. It's actually a mixture of different chemicals, but they're all what they call alkanes, possibly some alkenes as well. But generally, it refers to anything that is bigger than a carbon chain like this, that has 25 or more carbons in it. So it's one of the simpler structures in chemistry, an alkane, or to give it its old name, a paraffin, which I think, is it Greek? I think it's Greek for unreactive or something. I remember that's going back to when I was about 16, 17, I think. So, what does it go into? As usual, we've got a list down the side here. Of course, it's in cosmetics, it's in makeup, it's in lots of skincare products. In fact, it's actually, what's the word I'm looking for? It's one of its main things is for skincare. And surprisingly enough, it's an E45. I was surprised about that because I didn't think they'd use something like this in there. I thought it'd be something a bit different than that. It's actually an emulsion. One of the main ones is for lips. I'm sure most people have put stuff like that on the lips. Various hair products, and there's loads of others as usual. Like the cosmetics is a broad category. Same with the makeup, lipsticks, mascara, you name it, all that kind of stuff. Again, how's it made? I shall turn to this side. Usually what they do is get it from crude oil, like many of these things we've been talking about. But this one is actually less reacted. It's just kind of purified. So the usual process, they crack the crude oil. That means they heat it in the absence of oxygen. And then you get the different boiling points is where they take the different fractions. So this is one of the lower ones, actually. It's one that stays at the bottom of the column and it doesn't boil very well. because it's got such a big molecule. When it comes out, it's kind of a browny colour because it's come from crude oil, which is, as you probably know, is pitch black. So what they do then is purify it. I've had a look into how they do this, but I mean, if it was me, I can't actually see any processes for it. But if it was me, what I'd do is put it under vacuum and heat it. So I assume that's what they do. So to strip all the impurities out. So to probably do it, I bet they've got to do it at least 2 or 3 times to get it white, because there's that much gump in it. Yeah, so then you get your petrolatum. There is actually another method of getting to this stuff. Again, they take the crude oil, but they take some of the lighter fractions. So they start with like a mixture of these alkanes, the shorter ones, and that's so they'll boil off at a lower temperature. And what they call an olefin, an alpha olefin, which is a double bond, what you call unsaturation. Like they say, polyunsaturates. So that's when they say that, that's what they mean. It's got a double bond on it. And they call it saturated when hydrogens are, they've got all the hydrogens on there, then it'd be saturated with hydrogen. So what they do with that, mix it with peroxide, high pressure, more heat, and then they get the same thing, but petroleum jelly. It's an interesting one, this. It's a good way of telling whether they've got the one derived strictly from the crude oil or the one that they've actually synthesized. If it's the, for want of a better word, the natural one, the crude one from the crude oil, under by legal definition, you have to call that petrolatum these days. I don't know when they change that actually, but that's what they've got to do now. If it's this, they're allowed to call it petroleum jelly or one of these others. They can still call it petrolatum if they want, if it's that one, just not the other way around. So if it's the purified crude oil, which is basically what it is, they've got to call it petrolatum. So in itself, it does have some problems, which I'll come back to later. But in general terms, these things are fairly unreactive. So what's the problem with them? It's the impurities. So when they purify this stuff, they can never get it absolutely pure because it's come from the crude oil is just a mixture of thousands of different chemicals in there. And they do try and separate them out, but you can never really get them absolutely pure doing it like that, not unless you really went to town on it, and that cost you a fortune. So the problem is not so much the stuff itself, although there is a problem with it, but it's more the impurities that are left over in it. So I've got a kind of a list here. If you bear with me, I'll draw out a few structures. They're all kind of similar, but these are the ones that have sort of been identified top of the list that are some kind of culprit. So they're all quite similar. So you've got your benzene rings, but because it's come from the crude oil, it's formed under pressure and all that, so these fuse together. And they get what they call pyrenes. So this one they call benzoyl A pyrene. I assume that's probably because of one of the first ones they identified. it will kind of become clear why I'm drawing these out. It's quite difficult to do from this angle. That is one nitrotoluene, and a similar, very similar one to that. There's a bit of a mess of that one, isn't there? Oops. What's there? Anyways, you get the gist. That's on there. That one is there. That is 1,8. Surprisingly enough, dinitropyrene. The hell was that?
I have no idea.
Did you hear that? Sounded like a rocket taking off. Oh, this is taking a bit of time, but bear with me. I didn't have room to draw all these out at the start. This is a tricky one. So 5-membered, back to the 6.
You can probably hear baby snoring in the background.
Yeah, put him to sleep, have I? This is Indino. Not like the dog off the Flintstones. Indino 1,2,3 CD pyrene.
They give them such catchy names.
I assume they're called pyrene because of the form
The
and the heat and pressure, yeah. I'll rush these a bit. This one is called Chrysene. That's quite an important one because that is quite common. So all these are impurities that have been found left over from the purification process, and it's still in the petroleum jelly. Now, there's some of these reports have said that, oh no, it's not, they're all pure and all that, like, but I'll show you there's a study that's been done that says absolutely not. So this is from, did I print that German one off? Oh, I downloaded oh, that's it, yeah. This is from a journal called Toxicology Reports. So this one shows they've got plastic against cosmetics. So they've tested a few cosmetics to see what the main impurities are in the petroleum jelly fraction. And the two main ones that I've picked out here, well, The lower ones, interestingly, where there's hardly any, that's the plastic. All the high ones where the levels are high, like this is like 5,000 micrograms per gram, which is quite a lot. They're all in the cosmetics. So this one, the main one that's got most, is your Indino 1,2,3 CD pyrene, which is this one. And on this table, it shows the kind of things that they've detected it in. So these B numbers here are all codes. Oh, can you actually see me there? For different types of cosmetic. So you've got dyes, hair cream, hair gel, paints, lip gloss, face cleanser, and your standard deviations. That's for the mathematicians amongst us. So yeah, the other one, we spelt it Kyrene, but it's actually Chrysene. I did look it up and check it. So that's the second main one. So I'll just go through and tell what I've found out about these things, just sort of one by one really, and various tests that have been done on them and what they've found out. So if you'll just bear with me, it's just a case of going through them really. Got to have my obligatory cup of tea. I did find as well, it's interesting, when I looked at a lot of these reports, they had links and references, and a lot of them were references to the World Health Organization, the American EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, all these bodies. There's quite a few of them, and they had the references and links. Clicking on the links, you go, page not found. This post or whatever it is has been removed. And I found that again and again and again when I was looking for these reports on these things. So it looks as though a lot of them have been taken down off the internet. So read into that what you will. This one was actually still on the American Environmental Protection Agency about Chrysene. So basically, start by saying on humans, they've not actually been looking at the effects of these things on humans, but there's plenty that's been done on animals. I know it's unfortunate for the animals, but this is how we get the knowledge. And it's interesting, I was saying last night that all these animals, we were watching that thing about that beagle. Yeah. There's a beagle that had been rescued from an animal centre. If we were using natural products, those animals wouldn't have to go through all that. Yeah. They wouldn't have to be tested on. But anyway. Although there are no human data specifically link the exposure of Chrysene to human cancers, Chrysene is a component of mixtures that have been associated with human cancer. So they just list like various places these things can come from. So there's tar, soot, coke emissions, cigarettes, but also anything made from petroleum products. Intraperitoneal Chrysene injections in male mice caused an increase in incidence of liver tumours. So that's black and white, it did. And increased incidences of malignant lymphoma and lung tumours. In mouse skin painting assays, Chrysene tested positive in both initiation and complete carcinogen studies. So then they basically go through the method of how they did all that and the percentages of the cancer incidences in the lungs, in the liver. down the bottom here, it says basically what they did, they took like the very young mice and very old mice and did the tests with those as well. And basically, there's a correlation between the younger the animal was, the more incidence of cancer there was. And that was even evidenced in fetuses. So the younger, the worse. When they gave it to the mothers, it says here that no hepatic tumours were found in the females. In a replication of this study, lung tumours were found, however, and hepatic tumours in treated male mice was significantly elevated. So for some reason, well, the pregnant female seemed to be slightly protected. Strange. Hormones, yeah. Yeah, no liver tumours were reported in the females. Supporting data for this, Chrysene produced positive results in tests for reverse mutation in 3 strains of Salmonella and other bacteria. So basically, it mucks up bacterial DNA and RNA. Chromosomal effects were observed in hamsters, mouse, another breed of hamster. Positive results were obtained in tests for all cell transformation in Syrian hamsters, embryos, and negative results in mouse prostate cells. So bearing in mind, this is just one of the components. There's a lot more than these, but these are just some of the ones that I've picked that are present as impurities in this stuff. These are the major ones. So that's just one of them. Carcinogenic. That's this one. Chrysene. So now onto our friend Dino. Indeno 123CD pyrene. This is on animals again. In mouse skin painting assays, that chemical tested positive for cancer initiating activity in several mouse strains. Mice were given topical applications in a solvent, and they were also compared to a blank of the solvent, which was okay. So the dioxin didn't produce any skin tumours, it says here. Dioxin is just a solvent. But the acetone solutions of this did. So what I read into that is these things that are going through the skin. Acetone is great at taking stuff through your skin. I don't know if you've ever spilt nail varnish remover on your hand. It takes all the oil out of your hand and soaks through the skin. Yeah, this one in particular is interesting because, sorry, I didn't show. This is from the EPA as well, the American EPA. This one is interesting because it's actually that good at causing cancer. It absolutely causes cancer. So it's used as a standard. So what they do is they take this and put it on the mice or whatever, and that usually gives 100% tumour. So they use that as a baseline, like a standard, to comparing other stuff to it. So, and this stuff, look on your graphic, it's the main component, it's the main impurity in these cosmetic products here. That's the standard. That's what they use to give animals cancer as a compare to the other chemicals. It's a bit like, I remember the name of it the other day, what they use for livers. It's gone again. So what they used to study diabetes. They give the animals this compound, and it's absolutely certain to give them diabetes. It kills all the beta cells in your pancreas. That's what they use to compare other things that might cause diabetes. This is exactly the same. So it's that good. They use it as a test, a standard in a test. Again, if anyone's interested, you know, I can upload this stuff on. There's one definitely, I'll put the link on that one on the end there. I haven't got it here. Hold on a minute. This is from a journal which is called the Silent Spring Institute. It's like a charity, kind of, that has been set up to study breast cancer. And these have done a nice big study on our friend here, where's he gone? The 1-nitrophenol, pyrene. So this is specifically looking at breast cancer. Where are we? In studies listed in the relative journals, 5 of the 8 studies report increased benign and or malignant mammary tumours from dosing. This one. When administered by subcutaneous injections, the 1-nitropyrene induced mammary tumours, including adenocarcinomas in female rats. A study on the rats injected intraperitoneally with the same one showed increased mammary tumours. A second study demonstrated a non-statistically significant increase in mammary tumours. Mammary gland tumours were also increased following oral administration of nitropyrene to female rats. So that's ingesting it through your mouth. What's one of the main things that women use?
Yeah.
Your lip balms, will come back to them. They then go on to other sources of this stuff, and they've actually done a lot of stuff on inhaling it and all that, and again, a 70% increase of cancer risk from toxic air pollution that contain these. So not only are you breathing it in because they're in the environment, but you put these things on you, you're getting like a massive dose of it compared to what you're breathing in. So that's from an institute that specialises in breast cancer, looking at cures for it and that. Right, benzoapyrene. This is an interesting one because it's probably the most prolific in the environment. It's been found all over the place. Benzopyrene is an extremely diffuse environmental and occupational pollutant. It's classified as a potent human carcinogen. Sorry, this is from the journal called Toxicology. This is from May 2010. Again, this one, it's kind of used as a benchmark because it's been recognised to cause cancer that well. Again, so they use that to compare other things to it. So there's a couple of them here. The benzoapyrene binds with high specificity to the aryl hydrocarbon receptor in the cytoplasm, inducing its nuclear translocation. after internalisation. So basically it targets your DNA. It goes and attaches itself to your DNA. And when that happens, all kinds of fun and games can happen with your DNA. It produces all kinds of mutations, and a lot of mutations will end up as cancers. Fortunately, 99% of mutations don't, but it's a numbers game, if you know what I mean. The more of it you have, the more chance there is.
But it's like running out on the road, isn't it? Like,
yeah, you keep doing it.
Swerve
yeah.
An issue, but if you keep doing it,
someone's going to hit you, yeah. This site on the DNA has been individuated also in human and rodent skin to generate ultimate forms that can produce DNA adducts and induce tumour initiation in mice skin. So if you put it topically, it's been shown it can cause cancer. Free radicals, we've all heard of those, seem to play an important role in the skin aging, carcinogenesis, phototoxicity. It wouldn't surprise me if you put this on your skin, go out with the sun, it probably amplifies the effect. So, skincare under here is sunblock.
a lot of foundations and everything have SPF in them as well.
Yeah. Right, so that's that one. That one they've found all over the place. It's in the environment. Again, every time we use this stuff, it's washed down the drain. It's ending up. They found it in crops, things like that on farms. This is from The Science of the Total Environment. So this is studying the effects of these things in the environment on us and various other things that are growing. Human cancer and causes of skin, lungs and bladder cancers have always been associated with polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. That's what these are. So this has been known for a long time. The relationship between cancer and the environment is largely conditioned by investigations involving exposures. So we've got benzoyl, A-pyrene, chrysene, indeno 1,2,3-pyrene. There's another one here, benzoyl fluorothene, which I've not wrote down there, but they've produced carcinogenic, mutagenic, and genotoxic effects in animal experiments. So the carcinogen, we all know what that is. Mutagen is your DNA, and genotoxic is kind of similar, but I think you can pass that on, if I remember right. More recently, these kind of chemicals have been associated with elevated levels of DNA adducts and P53 mutations in persons who smoke or are exposed to these chemicals in any way. They're going about airborne. So if you're breathing these things in, they're at very, 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 very low levels. If you put it on your skin, it's a much higher dose. If you put it in your lips and you get it inside your body, currently there's no information on the human cancer risk assessment. They've just not done the work, really. It's quite difficult to find studies on these things. Human cancer risk for specific age groups related to these. Pollution sources. A study in Taiwan was done. There's the identification of the most dangerous environmental chemicals like this, and the mode of action producing specific health effects remain uncertain and difficult to quantify the exposure risk precisely. So these guys are asking for more research, more money to do a proper analysis on what these things are doing in the environment, because it hasn't been done. So that's those as a whole. So basically, most of these, well, all of these here have actually been identified as carcinogenic, mutagenic. I'll come back to the levels in a bit, but they've been found in fairly high levels in our friend petroleum jelly. But just as an aside, strangely enough, we've seen a pattern here again. This is from Nature Portfolio. Estrogenic effects. So mimicking the hormone estrogen again. Every single one of these we've done has had an estrogenic effect. But I thought I'd read this one specifically because it's interesting. They've done a comparison. Use of personal care products is widespread in the United States, but tends to be greater among the same African Americans, being specific for some reason. Such exposure may have adverse health effects, especially when it occurs during developmental windows, i.e. pre-puberty, when estrogen levels are low. We assessed extracts of 8 commonly used hair and skin products among African Americans in this case, using cell proliferation assay and estrogen sensitive. This is a marker that they use to spot it. Cells line derived from a human breast cancer. 4 of the 8 personal care products tested, so they've got a hair oil lotion, an extra dry skin lotion, intensive skin lotion, petroleum jelly. These all demonstrated detectable EA, whereas the 3 natural products, so here they've picked a placenta hair conditioner. I've never heard of that, using placentas on your head. But this one's a tea tree hair conditioner and a skin cream just using cocoa butter, which is the kind of thing we use, isn't it? So all basically what they say is all the synthetic and the crude oil products, including the petroleum jelly, all had an estrogenic effect, and that has all kinds of consequences. It's associated with breast cancer, diabetes, you name it, all that kind of thing. Me personally, I think it's got a lot to do with fibromyalgia as well, because the estrogenics in the environment are everywhere now. But the natural derived products, I'm saying here, actually had the opposite effect. So you're actually fighting back against all these estrogenics in the environment if you switch to using your natural products. That's there. Again, I can upload that.
The reason that they will have said African American women is because they're very big on using Vaseline.
Yeah, they said they tend to use more.
Skincare. So they'll just use pure petroleum jelly as moisturiser.
Right. It seems a funny thing to break it down under skin colour, but we all use them, don't we? But I suppose that if they use more, it's more obvious. We're all basically built the same, aren't we? So this one is from a German journal who did a massive study on some common cosmetic products. And what they did was look for these to see if they could find any of these in those products. So it basically starts off by saying aromatic hydrocarbons may cause cancer. And it says here, all the cosmetics they tested are contaminated. So the high content of these suggested that this was not a contamination from the production process, but that the ingredient itself was the cause of the discovery. The first ingredient on the list of ingredients of this was a body oil, which was a mineral oil, comes under this. To gain clarity, we refined the analysis and tested other cosmetics that, according to the declaration, contain mineral oil. First, other body oils, then also creams, baby and lip balm, hairstyling products, and Vaseline. So we'll have to name that because it's like saying Hoover, isn't it?
Yeah.
Everyone uses the trade name. All of the cosmetics tested, including brands such as BB, Beeb, Blistex, Dove, Labello, Nivea, and Pantene. Pentaten.
No, Pantene, right.
Are contaminated with these chemicals. See the tables, mineral oils, blah, blah, blah. So they've actually highlighted some of the ingredients on the containers themselves there. So we're not making any of this up. The intake of these through food potentially concerning. A final health assessment is still pending to see mineral oil as a cosmetic ingredient. However, according to the European Food Safety Authority, fractions of these could pose a carcinogenic risk. Therefore, that agency therefore considers the intake of these through food to be potentially worrying. This assessment can be applied to lip care products based on mineral oil. This is because they enter the body directly through the mouth. Due to the test results, we advise against lip products made with mineral oil. Whether a product contains mineral oil is stated in the ingredients list. It must not be present in natural cosmetics. So what they've done, they've gone on to test the levels. So they found it present in food, which is probably come from the environmental contamination, either straight from the refinery or people using these. Yeah, it's washed down the drain. A lot of places farmers take river water and irrigate their crops with that. They're putting it on the crops then. That's probably where it's come from in the food, either that or some of the packaging that's used. I've never understood why they put cling film on a cucumber.
Nature's very good at packaging her own products.
Yeah. So it says here that compared to the food which they've identified it in, some of these products have 15,000 times more than what they find in the food. Dove's body oil, it says, has the lowest content of these, but it's 8 times the amount of what's found in food. Vaseline has the highest level of these, with up to 9%.
Wow.
9%. They say that a safe level for some of these other. Do you remember? Or if you remember, some of the levels for some of the other additives that are used, they say maximum 1%. And they found 9% of these, which shouldn't even be in there. They certainly won't be labelled.
No. And at that level, they should be listed as the ingredient.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, that's not an impurity level. That's an ingredient. You would have to call it that.
Mm.
Vaseline consists exclusively of mineral oil. They call it that. It is an oil, but it's set solid as a fat. It contains mostly saturated hydrocarbons, which if you remember is that. Although these are not considered carcinogenic, they are not without their problems either. If they enter the body, some of them can be deposited in human tissue. Like this is what I was saying before about the intrinsic possible danger, but no work has been done on it. Possible health consequences are not clear. Depending on the recipe, these levels in the test may vary. They range between 10 and 94%. So that's these ones. So basically there's no data on these sitting around. They tend to be deposited in your fat cells around there in your body tissues, and they sit there. Like I said, they're very unreactive. But what consequence is that going to have in the long term? You know, they could potentially break down. It's like a fat. Your body might eventually break it down. But it kind of reminds me of that. Was it Pringles? Mm. Pringles came out with this idea of using this fat to cook their crisps, or whatever you'd call them. I don't call them crisps, the Pringles. But it was such a high molecular weight fat that your body couldn't do anything with it. So the idea was it just passed straight through your digestion tract, which it did. It also gave a lot of people diarrhea, I believe. Mm. But one of the side effects of that was what happens with things like this. They tend to coil up. So what was happening was these were coiling around, and things like metals they call it a coordination. They tend to sit inside. So what it was doing was actually leaching your metal ions, your trace elements out of your body. Because once it was in there, your body couldn't break that fat down to get that metal ion back. So it was leaching your minerals out of your body, literally. So, I mean, things like calcium and that in your bones, it was taking them out. They're essential, like copper, magnesium, all that kind of thing. Special case, lip care. These compounds should not enter the body at all, but lip products are applied, licked and swallowed. The Scientific Committee on Consumer Safety in the EU estimates that consumers apply and completely absorb lip products on average around 6 times a day. So that's your average user, I suppose. This corresponds to 57 milligrams of product, which is quite a lot, isn't it?
Yeah.
We advise against using mineral oil-based lip care products. For example, the lip balm Blistex contains 1.4% these, and is made up of about, it contains 1.4% of these, and about half is these. If you consume 57 milligrams a day, that's about 0.8 milligrams of these, and more than 25 milligrams of these. This can be in addition to what you're getting from your food, all the other products. So you're getting, like, you're bombarded with it, basically. We therefore advise against using lip care products based on mineral oil. Vaseline should also not be used over the mouth. Even creams can get in the mouth via the hands.
The thing that scares me most about it is from the day a baby enters this world, with how delicate a baby's skin is.
Mm. And I'm coming to that, yeah.
Yeah, and the area that you put it on baby.
Mm. Yeah, so following on from that, there we go, top of the list. Absorption through skin is also possible. It's currently not possible to say with certainty how many and which mineral oil components penetrate the skin. but it seems highly likely that most of them will. When asked, Professor Andreas Luch, head of the Chemicals and Product Safety Department at the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment, based on our current knowledge, consumers are not expected to be exposed to health risks from absorption of mineral oils in cosmetics through the skin. However, he admits there are major data gaps that make assessment difficult. That's just a scientist talking. Basically, he's saying, because I've not done the test, I can't say. In conjunction with its own studies, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, what was it? In consumer products, this body published at the end of 2010, it has also been proven that alkylated polycyclic aromatics migrate into the skin upon direct contact and can therefore also contribute to a health risk. So I'm not sure why he said that, but the evidence is that they found that these are absorbed through the skin. They've been found in the liver, spleen and lymph nodes. The levels are often alarmingly high. Studies by the Zurich Cantonal Laboratory indicate that mineral oils can penetrate the skin. Dr. Conrad Grob, an analyst at that same laboratory, has been working with mineral oils for years and also worked on risk assessments. He says for him, the mineral oils are probably the most serious contaminant in the human body. The amounts of these in the liver, spleen and lymph nodes are often alarmingly high, he says. It would be important to know how much comes from food, cosmetics or the environment, but because we cannot rule out the skin is also a source of entry, further research is urgently needed. So I think the problem with this one is because it's been around for such a long time, it's almost 200 years really. It's mid-19th century, started using these kind of things. That they're kind of seen as an old friend. But they've just not done the work. Or any work that has been done. So a lot of the links have been removed. So they're definitely there. They definitely contaminate this. They found it. The evidence is there.
Going back to babies as well, with it entering the body, apart from orally, the other place where it can enter the body is through the genitalia and through the bottom. You know, it's
not only that, baby skin is so delicate and thin.
Is so delicate, and yet we're encouraged.
But they've got a much higher metabolic rate as well, so these things will get metabolized faster. And
the studies on mice and rats show that
the younger the worse it is. So that's our friend petroleum jelly, or petrolatum. I'll say if you look at the label, they're supposed to put petrolatum if it's come from the crude oil route rather than the, I call it semi-synthetic route.
Lisa Wells says, I've been using this reputable brand in a cute little tin for years. Thanks to Fibro, I haven't used it for a while because I can't open the tin. Silver lining and all that.
Yeah.
It is shocking. It is very, very shocking because it is, like you said, it's something that we've been led to believe is inert. They're safe. That you can use it on a baby from the day it's born. It's that safe.
Well, I used to, the only thing I used to use it for really was rubbing into my leather jackets. And it's not bad for that. But that I don't use now. I've got the Bioecology stuff.
But Vaseline now, its main market is lip balm.
Yeah. And that's probably the worst thing you could use it for, according to these studies. But it's common sense, isn't it? I mean, when I first started at Ciba-Geigy, probably my first or my second day I started there, one of the old chemists sat me down and he was going on about health and safety stuff. And he said, wear your gloves. And he said, you don't know what's going on. Like he said, you could be handling something, you get a drop of it on your finger, let's say. So you might go like that, you might put it in your pocket. Then you go like this and you might scratch your head, pick up your pen, anything like that. It's spreading it around, it's contaminated. It's exactly the same as what you're doing here with these. If these things are in there, you're spreading them around. They will get in you. Sorry.
And ironically, it's in that cream that they've given me for my head, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I had a look at that, didn't we? We didn't like the look of it.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything. That's totally your decision.
Debbie Killen says, growing up with bad eczema, Vaseline was the go-to to put on cracked skin and prevent an open sores, prevent further splitting. So that's directly into the body, isn't it?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. The creams dried the skin. Lisa says maybe Mark could whip us up a batch of SOS lips if he gets the time.
But I mean, it is interesting, isn't it, that it says there it speaks for itself. The naturally derived ones had the opposite effect. They know all this.
Sharon says, will SOS prevent nappy rash as well as treat it? No way I'm buying any other creams. I've never been a fan of actual Vaseline. It's only good as a lubricant if we run out of WD-40. But yeah, it's fabulous as a barrier cream, isn't it?
Yeah, I would have thought it would prevent as well, yeah.
Well, it's a barrier cream, isn't it? Jade just said yes, it's all I used on Eric, and Eric did struggle.
Jade's the expert with that, isn't she, really?
Yeah,
she's used it on Eric from day one. In fact, he used to ask for it, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, before he could speak, before he could walk, he'd crawl to go and get SOS if he had an ouchie. But even if his bum was sore, he'd go and get it, wouldn't he? And like point at his bum.
Yeah, he knew, he wasn't daft.
Yeah.
So there it is, guys. That's what I found out about petrolatum and soft white paraffin. Surprising. See, a lot of this stuff is even surprising me, especially the level of these in the V brand.
9%.
9%. That's horrific.
It floored me when you told me that. 9%, and they don't have to list it as an ingredient.
Well, they don't, I suppose. But yeah, again, that's this study. It's a German one. There's also a video on it, so I can upload the PDF or the link to it, or the link to the video, which is in German, but you can get subtitles for it. Yeah, it just show the brands there that they tested it on. So it's not.
Lovely.
It's not slander if it's the truth.
No. That's scary.
Again, I don't understand, like, why take the risk? We've got to stop using these things. We've got to stop putting them into the environment. I mean, it's bad enough digging this stuff out of the ground without then pouring it into our rivers and lakes and into the ocean. It always comes back. We're a sealed system. The Earth's a bubble. It's a sealed system. Whatever we chuck out in it, it's going to come back. It doesn't float off into space. It comes back at us. All right, some of them will break down, but these do persist in the environment. especially these.
Debbie says it's disgraceful. Teresa says, I can't believe they can get away with it. Lisa says, I didn't think I could be even more shocked, but it's absolutely mind-blowing. Joanne says, I think of all the years I was doing paraffin wax treatments at the salon.
Mm.
And it's something that they recommend for arthritis as well. Especially in your hands. I've been waiting for them to come up with that one for me.
I'm kind of flabbergasted that I've never seen that.
Yeah.
What's that going to do for your arthritis? Well, it kind of proves the point, though. For it to work, it'd have to soak through your skin.
Mm.
And it's taking them with it.
No, you dunk your hands in, bring it out, let it dry, then go back in for another dunk.
Mm.
So you end up with it's like you're wearing gloves made of paraffin, and the heat from it is meant to be soothing, but also it's meant to have.
Also, it's hot. Got to do it while it's
warm,
hot.
Yeah.
It's probably the heat that's helping. I don't know. Perhaps it does have some beneficial effect in that regard, but is it worth it? But, it's probably outweighed by.
It's babies and lips for me, which is the most scary.
It's scary, yeah. And some of the top brands have been shown to be probably the worst irritants. Some of the stuff that they have.
RJ says, keep spreading the word, guys. You're amazing. Thanks, darling. And Joanna says it's definitely the heat. The paraffin wax.
Mm. Well, I don't know if there's any questions on any of this stuff.
Lisa says, I actually thought that would be great for my hands, not anymore.
Well, it's like we were saying, it is like an old friend, isn't it? It's like Ovaltine.
Lisa, it'd be more beneficial to put your hands in a bowl of warm water with some bar sherbets in.
Yeah, I would have thought so. Because you're getting the magnesium. Again, this is the reason we're doing this. We're not natural just for the sake of it, and I'll keep saying it, but there's absolutely a deadly, serious reason why we're all natural. And this is the number 9 on the count as to why. Yeah, so if there's no questions then.
Lisa says I'm actually sickened that I've been using the lip care. But we're told we're told through marketing, through
Well, they're still saying it's safe. A lot of these things are still saying it's safe. But like I said, I've looked for the links where on the WHO and all that kind of stuff, and they're not working. So they must have been taken down. And it studies into these.
They know how to make products attractive to humans. Marketing people are incredible at it.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you, Joanne. She says you guys are amazing.
These things have the place. Yeah, making stuff from crude oil is fantastic. We need plastics. We need all that sort of stuff. That's great, but do we need it in here if it's causing so many problems? Do we need it in there if it's going in to contaminate the environment?
Debbie says it says it all when the info has been hidden.
It's hard to say if it has been deliberately hidden, but a lot of the links, like I say, it's just, it was a bit. It wasn't just one or two; it was a few of them. They'd been either taken down or the link was broken or whatever. And then it's not kind of in your face. This you have to dig.
Lisa says it's with cocoa butter as well, as if that makes it okay.
Yeah. It might balance it out a bit, like it said on there. They have the opposite effect. Well, the estrogen thing is a massive problem, and it's been every single one of these now. This is the 9th one. Every single one of them, it says estrogenic effects. We're awash with it. It's everywhere.
Mm.
They're even spraying them on our crops, that kind of thing. The one that kills the bees.
Paula says they clearly don't need to use it though because MCC products don't have it and they're much more effective.
No. In my opinion, they are, yeah. That's why we're here. We're trying to provide an alternative, aren't we?
This is why when I mean, Mark always says that I'm bigging him up and whatever, which, yeah, I am, because I do think you're incredible. But it is very much, people go, oh, it's just aromatherapy, or it's just, oh, they're just using natural ingredients. What you do is science. You look at the structures and of the ingredients that you're using, and it's more than aromatherapy. It is, you take it right back to the science level, to the bare bones. You look at the structures of what you're using, and nobody else out there is doing that.
It's the effect on the environment of these things as well. They're all processed. The processes always take up energy. The processes always make waste, which is more pollution.
Sandy says we think he's incredible as well. Certainly found your calling, my love, haven't you?
Well, it just kind of beggars belief, doesn't it? That, I mean, the evidence is there. I'm not making this up. That's what I found. That the natural stuff balances out. It's something I always say, isn't it, about the balance. And the balance in our society has gone way over towards the estrogen side, and it's causing massive problems. And especially for women, really, the effect is more serious, I think, in a way. It causes infertility in men and androgenic effects, but for women, the consequences could be like deadly. Really.
Paula says it's so interesting. I think we all need to make ourselves more aware of what ingredients are in different things.
Can't believe I drew that structure like that. Mr. Latham would have me for that, my old chemistry teacher.
Did you hear what I just said?
Sorry, what?
I just knew that you were beating yourself up about that structure. Paula says it's so interesting. I think we all need to make ourselves more aware of what ingredients are in different things.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this. Yeah, hopefully we'll make people more aware, or at least make you look. That's what I recommend. Just read the label. But unfortunately, a lot of the time, these things aren't on the label. So you have to look for the little clues. Oh, so certainly, chances are if it's got that, it'll have these, from what we've seen. Not too sure about the semi-synthetic route. I imagine that those lighter chemicals are probably easier to purify. But even so, they tend to be more branched. Let's say like these are linear. The synthetic ones are more branched. So again, we don't know. I never drew that out, did I? So you had what they call the alpha olefin to the aliphatic chain. You get a chain, and then this is added this way. So it's branched, unlike the one they get from the crude oil, which is fairly linear. It could be branched as well because these go way above 25. But these tend to be mostly like that because of the way they're made. No one knows what effect that has. I couldn't even find anything on that.
Joanne says all these estrogens we're absorbing, it makes you wonder the effect for women going through the menopause.
Mm. No, it's shown to have developmental prepubescent effects, doesn't it? So I imagine the same is it later on in life. My personal opinion is that it's causing a lot of what we call these autoimmune type things that have just sprang up in the last kind of 30 years from inexplicably nowhere, apparently. But again, like I say, that's my opinion, but I think it is related to a lot of these things we're getting, the autoimmune type stuff, including fibro.
Lisa says, well, they put it in ridiculously small writing. That's because they don't want you to read it.
Or disguise it under an umbrella, like parfum. Something like that. As far as I know, they wouldn't deliberately put any of those in there, but you never know. There was one, what was it? It was a nitro, looked like TNT.
Yeah.
That was it a blackcurrant smell they used that for?
Yeah, I think so.
So you never know, they might be.
Paula says, I wish I was better at chemistry. And Lisa says there has to be a connection.
It was a bit of a coincidence, isn't it? Anyway, so if there's no more questions, I'll say thank you for joining us again. Hope this was helpful. And we'll see you again next week. Yeah, thanks again. Take care, guys. We'll sign off. Bailey says bye too. We'll see you again.
See you guys.